Washington sentiment about it. So I thought that I had now saved the honor of the American Revolution and articulated an aspect of the story which honored poor black and white folks. And so I thought, foolishly, that this was named one of its books, nonfiction books of the year by 3 AM magazine in London, which is avant-garde magazine. 3 AM. You can get it on the web. And does terrific interviews with philosophers. They did one with me. I went over a career because I hated a philosopher. But I got interested in this, so I ended up writing this as a story. Who would have thought? So I thought it would be covered for this reason. And it should be, and the dam will break. My friend and Vincent's friend, Michelle Alexander, wrote the great book, The New Jim Crow, which if you haven't read, you should, because it's all about the American prison system and how a lot of folks, like we have at the time, which was a few years ago, 2.3 million prisoners, 25% of the world's prisoners. And the big increase is for mandatory sentencing and for having a few grains of marijuana warfare. It's insane. And there's a coalition of conservatives and anti-racists who see that this, we're spending all this money on the prison system, and I think we're the land of the free, so why do we do this police thing? That seems a little dumb, right? Why have we got more prisoners than China? And if you take it in terms of population, we've really got more prisoners than China. Well, her book has been getting a lot of coverage. And it might be the case that the log jam and break about the times. I'm not certain, but I think it will over time. I was surprised. My friend Vincent, who we recently went to Palestine, and he said it was a good year, Obama's re-election, to have this book come out. And it should have been. I mean, in the sense that it is a good year, but it should be actually something that it would be nice if the Times had somebody to argue with. There's general agreement about most of the facts I cite in the book. I've unearthed a lot of these things. It's not controversial among historians that black people on both sides of the revolution. There's more question about it on the American side. I have a lot of new stuff on that. I have a lot of stuff on the British side because people write in different areas. But there's no question that this was a change waiting for somebody to name it, waiting for the book to bring it out. And I want to say two more things briefly about founding myths or founding unusuals. I'm a Jew, and I went with Vincent Harvey and a committee of people who were in the civil rights movement and some rabbis and so on, who are very skeptical, were very skeptical before we went, about the treatment of the Palestinians in Israel. And this is a very tense topic here, and it's very hard for a lot of people to bear. But I think there isn't one person there. I was friends with Andy Goodman when I was in grade school. He was killed in Philadelphia, Mississippi. And I almost went that summer, and it just happened that I didn't have the right connection, so nobody asked me. And I'd been on a freedom ride that had been attacked in Chestertown, Maryland, so I thought Mississippi was real scary. And I hadn't seen him in a couple of years, and he went. The first day he was in Mississippi, he went to a church that was burned out or registered people to go, and the sheriff of Philadelphia, Mississippi, turned loose at midnight to a mob, his car broke down, and he and James Chaney and Mickey Schwimmer were all moved. And there is an heroic alliance out of suffering between Jews and black folks, which is visible in the civil rights movement, it is visible in jazz, it is central to what is alive in America, and it is important. And there was not a single person on this trip who didn't know about the Holocaust, who hadn't, I consider myself a professional anti-Nazi. And I spent a lot of time fighting Nazis and defending. So one of the things about it is that it isn't my 30th inclination to criticize Israel. But one of the things about it is, you go to the occupied territories, They treat people like they're not human. It is apartheid. It is Jim Crow. I could describe to you this at length if you want. I'll just say there are a lot of different illustrations of it. People who do nonviolent demonstrations, I teach nonviolence, and we all went to talk with people who were nonviolently protesting this, who get shot up and often killed in villages there, are protesting things like, well, we had olive trees and you put them all through olive trees and you built these fancy houses up there leaning on the hill in the settlement, the 500 settlements over there, all illegal. And this is pretty hard to bear. And if you're a settler's child and you attack these kids, right? Or we went to a market in Hebron and they've cleared out Jews-only area of Hebron. They destroyed the old market, and overhead it has wiring because they would throw rocks down on people, and they would throw buckets of shit and urine down on people. Well, the IDF is there to protect Jews, so they want to arrest Jews who do that. And I was sitting outside meeting with a couple other people, and there were 6 soldiers came by with guns, because everybody's armed. It's very frightening. They're all young kids with guns, lots of guns. Very scared, right? And kids with guns, not with much training, not good. These are not pros. They're not people who've done it for a long time. They're dangerous, because they haven't done it for a long time. So, more dangerous. So, anyway, Palestinian kid gets arrested. In the wall, they have cameras. If you come down and demonstrate against the wall, they take your picture. They can go arrest you out of your house at 2 in the morning. You go to a military court and be held for 8 days. If you're held for 8 days, they torture you. And then they may have you in jail for 3 or 4 months. So we talked with Gus and Tanini, and there are 2 people in this village, right around the time we were there, Rushdie Tanini and Mustafa Tanini, who were murdered by tear gas canisters. American-made tear gas canisters. And this kid wants to protest this, and is protesting it nonviolently, and admires Martin Luther King, and they have abandoned terrorism and bombing. And Israel is there shooting them up and humiliating them. If I were those kids, and I believed in justice, if I didn't listen to the people who were talking about nonviolence in my elders, I might give up. This is the most stupid, counterproductive, reactionary policy. And the phrase, a land without people, for a people without land, is a dishonest phrase. Because there were people. And Israel, the Jews had suffered the Holocaust. And they had to have a place, and this is where Europe and Russia and America would let Jews sell it. So, I will say, there was ethnic cleansing there. Israeli historians have written about it, and it's very sad. You can get away with it. You can make peace there, but you can't make peace forcing people out of the occupied territories and trying to have a second transfer. And somebody has to stop this. And there is an international nonviolent movement against it, but it's like this other issue. So the last point I'm going to go quickly is, I'm a John Evans professor, and John Evans is the governor here, and there's now Evans and Evans Boulevard, and the county which runs across it. These are all named for the governor who sent out Chivington as the political partner of Chivington to do the Sandton Nest. And it was part of stealing the land of people who lived here, which is what settlers did, and pretending they were human and chasing them all out. So it wasn't so different from a lot of other things the American Army did. But Silas Soule was a real hero in this, who was in the American Army, and was willing to fight hostile Indians. He actually wrote a letter, as did another lieutenant, Lieutenant Joseph Kramer, describing what citizens of Denver hyped on racism. It had all been built up. There was an indigenous chief named Weenbeer who was going to Washington and had papers from Lincoln. And one of our Army patrols came up to his tent, and he came out with his papers from Washington. He was at peace with them, and they shot him like a dog. That was 1 month. And the next month, some kids went out and they slaughtered the Hungate family. And so Evans had the Hungate family brought into Denver, and everybody looked at their corpses and said, we've got to kill these savages or they're going to kill us. And Evans broke every agreement. And these people knew that the people of Sand Creek, they talked to Evans, had come in saying, we're the peaceful Indians, and we want to make peace with you, and we don't want to take on the army. And they go to the fort, and Wynkoop, for whom we have a street honorably named, he actually said, yeah, you're peace, and you can camp by us, and you're under our protection, and we'll give you rations. And then he had been threatened, he thought, by Chivington. He thought that Chivington had tried to assassinate him. But anyway, he ended up leaving. And the guy took over, who was a very corrupt guy named Scott Anthony. And Anthony cooperated with a surprise attack at daybreak on the Native American camp here, in which the settlers went nuts. It was sort of like the Ku Klux Klan to the Power 55. No, and they killed babies, they mutilated women and paraded around in body parts, including men. And this was all written up in the Rocky Mountain News, sadly. Edward Myers was a Methodist. Chivington was a Methodist. These are all founders of the Colorado Seminary and the University of Denver and Iowa School of Theology. And I'm now on the committee of the University of Denver, Northwestern, to reconsider the heritage of John Evans and Sand Creek, because it's the 150th anniversary of the university and of the Sand Creek Massacre. And the truth is, I'm especially honored to speak at the press club, and for all of you who are in the press. Patty Calhoun at Westbrook has been writing on this ferociously. She's on the side of the soul, and she knows a lot. And she just called me yesterday, and unfortunately, I just connected over email, and she tried to reach me for a story about 2 weeks ago, and she called my school phone, which I never used. So I'm afraid that I didn't get her message, so I just connected with her yesterday. And we talked about it. I think it's time that we make a society in which all of the descendants of people honor decency, and we acknowledge things that are bad, and we make a new start. And we can't make a new start without acknowledging them. So when I say founding myths or founding amnesias, I'm talking about things that have a profound, I think the President remembered, profound hold, which we're not going to shake easily. But the fact is that we can shake these things. And by the way, about Evans, I think it's like an open door. I think that everybody knows that this was bad now. Ari Plummer wrote a very good book, The Misplaced Massacre, on the Sand Creek Massacre, and he came to the Colorado History Museum, and he had one session with 300 people that sold out. So he scheduled another one at 1 o'clock, and another 300 people that sold out. So he scheduled a third one at 3:30. And that's when I and my wife and son went and heard him. I was 225 of us. And he was a history professor at the University of Denver, Fort Davis. I don't think he had a crowd like that at any time. I mean, maybe he had a big class at the University of California, 800 people.
University of California?
Well, he's the University of California, Davis.
Davis.
But what,
I guess.
Well, the thing about it is this issue is actually electrocuted, and it's really something that we should look into. And so I think that all of these things are founding amnesias and founding myths. And, you know, we're now the country that elected Barack Obama twice. And we have a lot of craziness here. But the truth is that all the world was amazed 40 years after the Civil Rights Movement and the Labor Rebellion to move to the smartest guy in the world, being black president of the United States. It's really kind of cool. And all the world was impressed. And unfortunately, Barack has done some things that leave a lot of people less impressed, I'm afraid. But it's still a very, very good thing, and we have new possibilities, and we can make a future which is democratic and decent. So, thank you, and I'll take questions. And we'll sign this.